conflict reconstruction, making a case for Kenya's comprehensive conflict disengagement and reintegration programs.
Our disengagement program is nationwide, and it assists individuals newly recruited into violent extremism and others who are returnees from foreign battlefields.
John Jacob Curia, Channel 1 News Hour.
Now, in other news, the coronavirus infection rate in the country took a downward trajectory Monday, with the Ministry of Health announcing 241 new cases in the last 24 hours from a sample size of 2,515. As of Monday, the positivity rate stood at 9.6%, with 170 people having been vaccinated so far.
The country's COVID-19 infection rate on Monday dropped to 9.6% after 241 new infections were confirmed from 2,515 samples tested. This pushing the total number of confirmed cases to date to 151,894. Another 20 people were reported to have succumbed to the disease on diverse dates, raising the death tally to 2,501. Out of the new deaths reported, one occurred in the last 24 hours. A total of 1,651 patients are admitted in hospital, with 250 being in the intensive care unit. The Ministry of Health says that 702,170 people have been inoculated against COVID-19, with Nairobi accounting for the highest number at 223,992, followed by Nakuru at 42,145, Uasin Gishu 35,543, while Kiambu has vaccinated 35,244 persons. Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
And now on to the corridors of justice. 3 people have been charged with defrauding a microfinance institution for over 4 million shillings. Now the 3, Eugene Antipa, Shrekbel Sifuna and Georgina Ayuma, who appeared before Milimani Court Magistrate Francis Andai, denied the charges and were released on 30,000 shillings cash bail each.
The 3 are accused of conspiring to defraud Mobifin Credit Limited of 4,653,899 on diverse dates between April 4, 2020 and June 16, 2020 by falsely pretending that they were in an established business and being employee of Colin Holdings and Supply Private Limited. Antipa Eugene was charged for obtaining credit amounting to 112,642 shillings on May 29, 2020 from Mobifin Limited by false pretense, while Sifuna was charged with obtaining 70,000 shillings from the said Mobifin by pretending that he was able to pay, while Ayuma obtained credit amounting to 114,092 shillings from the said institution. The 3 promised to refund the cash and were released on 30,000 shillings cash bail each. Elsewhere, the prime suspect in the murder of 24-year-old Catherine Nyokabi will remain in police custody for 14 more days to allow detectives finalize their probe. Thika Court on Monday allowed police to continue detaining Evans Karani, a 38-year-old, at Juja Police Station to complete investigation into the heinous murder that occurred at Witethia village of Juja on Wednesday last week.
All the required statements, also obtain data from Safaricom to connect the accused person, and also take the accused person to psychiatrist. I need at least 14 days so that I may finalize all that.
Finally, the Directorate of Criminal Investigation from Tigoni Police Station in Limuru Sub-County have been granted 14 days by Limuru Law Court to conclude their investigations over the murder of Peter Maina. Residence Magistrate Fred Kome says Grace Nyambura Njeri, who is the prime suspect of the heinous act, will be remanded in Tigoni Police Station, awaiting the post-mortem of the deceased to be carried on. According to neighbors, they heard scream, and after visiting the scene, they found the body of the deceased Peter Maina lying in the pool of blood.
Nilimpata tu hapo nje kama amekufa. Sasa sikuelewa.
Mahali ninakaa mimi nilisikia nduru. Nilipokuwa kwa nyumba, tuliposikia nduru si tukakuja. Kukuja tukakuta kijana amelala pale. Naye landlord wao akiwa amesha, tukaingia na landlord. Sasa landlord akaenda kutafuta gari ili wampeleke hospitali, lakini kimbahati mbaya wakakuta ameshaaga. Alikuwa na damu, ndio alikuwa ameonekana amedungwa kisu ya hapa.
Timothy Kipnusu for Channel 1 News.
Police in Turkana are investigating an incident in which the body of a middle-aged man was found dumped in a farm in Kenan area of Lodwar. Area residents say the incident is one among several other mysterious deaths to be reported in the area. Meanwhile, police have launched a manhunt for a man alleged to have stabbed his wife to death in the Kamulu area. Let's take a look.
Residents of Kenan area in Lodwar are decrying increased cases of mysterious deaths in the area. The latest incident involves the discovery of the body of a middle-aged man found in a farm belonging to a local politician.
Na kila siku mtu anakupia hapo. Mwanamke alinyonga hapa kila kitu hapa kwa nini? Kwa hii shamba.
Tumeona tu mwili asubuhi hapa, hatujui hii mwili imetoka wapi, hatujui mwili imekuwa kutoka wapi.
The residents are calling on the police to investigate the incident and help bring to an end suspected killings in the area. Elsewhere, police have launched a manhunt for a man alleged to have stabbed his wife to death in Kamulu. Albert Amaeche is reported to have made a call to their single-roomed house caretaker around 5:30 p.m. on Sunday, saying the wife wasn't feeling well, only for the caretaker to find the lady dead.
Kwa hivyo tukamuinua, tukachukua makaratasi tukaanza kumpuliza. Hakuongea. Kwa hivyo wakati tumemuinua mkono, tumepata akivunja damu kwa makwapa.
Ni kama hayuko. Kushika hivi tungeuze tutoe nje tupepetee, tukaona damu saidi moja. Si ndio tulitoka tukapiga nduru.
Neighbors and residents have called on couples to solve their domestic issues amicably instead of resorting to murder.
Ni vibaya sana. Afadhali hata watu waachane roho safi kuliko kuua mwenzako. Afadhali tu niambie toka mwenzangu nimechoka enda zako.
Afadhali umwambie aondoke, muachane kiroho safi kuliko kuchukua hatia mkononi, waachange mtoto wa wenyewe na alama ama umumalize.
Meanwhile, a family in Nguni Mwingi East Sub-County in Kitui have pleaded with the National Police Service to investigate and bring to book those involved in the murder of their 85-year-old kin. Ndawa Ambuvi was found murdered a few meters from his home 2 weeks ago.
Askari wakakuja wakapiga picha na ripoti, hakuna ripoti yoyote tulichapata. Sasa sisi tukashindwa, tuko na serikali lakini haitusaidii bwana. Sasa tunataka waambie kama wamepata mwenye amehusika.
Sioni vile anaweza kufa katikati ya watu hapa. Na serikali ina ujuzi wa kufuatilia tena mkubwa sana.
Mwingi East Sub-County Police Commander Joseph Yakan said investigations have kicked off and called on residents to aid the authorities with any information that may help arrest the culprits. Yusuf Farah, Channel 1 News.
Now in other news, residents of Shisembe sub-location in Kakamega County were left in shock after two men accused of stealing a pig collapsed and lost consciousness. The two suspects are said to have been subdued by a spell cast by a witch doctor consulted by a family to unravel the mystery of the lost pig. Locals who witnessed the bizarre incident welcomed the intervention, saying it will serve as a deterrent to theft in the area.
Shisembe sub-location in Kakamega County. Puzzled residents came in their numbers to flock this homestead to witness the bizarre incident where two men accused of stealing a pig collapsed and lost consciousness. 65-year-old Dorina Chitsa says she consulted a witch doctor to help her unravel the mystery behind the disappearance of her pig, only to discover that the enemy was within her homestead, someone she had employed as a worker.
Nguruwe walikuwa wamefunga, mchungaji wangu akienda huko akaniambia nguruwe hakuna kubwa. Nikamwambia paka muende kutafuta, wakaenda kutafuta nguruwe, wakupata nguruwe. Ndio mimi nikasema tutafute watu wakukuja kujulia sisi nguruwe iko wapi. Alafu daktari akafika mahali akawauliza, akasema wakushika nguruwe. Ndio akasema sasa wacha nifanye kazi, ndio akafanya kazi yake.
Kanga akakucha, akawapatia tawa, wote wakakunywa. Akawaambia kama mmehusika msikunywe hii tawa. Lakini wakakunywa hiyo tawa.
That is how the two suspects ended up here, unable to speak, writhing in pain and confused after their 40 days elapsed.
Mimi kukaa hapa daktari anadoka, ndio wananiambia mmoja ameanza kuanguka huko. Mwingine mwenye alikuwa hapa anaitwa Alexander, nikamwambia ungeenda kuoga badala ya kuoga ya kunawa. Akasema anasikia baridi. Sasa huyu ananiambia huyu ameanza huko, mimi bado naangalia huko. Huyo naye ameenda kwa nyumba, ameanguka huko.
Kufikia kitu kama saa 1 jioni, kuna mfanyikazi wa hii boma na jamaa mwingine walipatikana hapa kama wamefaint, wako unconscious, hawajitambui. Mmoja alikuwa ameanguka kule chini, mwingine kwa sitting room. Hawawezi ongea, wanapumua from mbali sana. So mimi kitu nilifanya, nilipigia OCS simu, nikapigia chief, tukakuja hapa mahali tukawapata.
It took the intervention of a witch doctor who performed his rituals to set the suspects free from the It is a bizarre incident that has left the residents puzzled, flocking this homestead to catch a glimpse of the suspected thieves, lamenting over the increasing cases of theft in the area.
Wengine hawatafuti kazi, wengine wanategemea tu mali ya wenyewe. Unaweza kuwa unalala, wewe unastukia tu mtu ameingia kwa nyumba na wewe umelala, haujui ameingia namna gani.
Hili liwe funzo. Katika eneo hili visa vya wizi vimekiziri. Wizi wa mboka, paka, umbwa, ambapo imekuwa na aibu.
Lakini mimi naambia wananchi wenye wanaibia watu wakome, kwa sababu wakati mtu anashughulikia mambo yake amwage jasho lake na ule mtu anakuja tu anachukua kirahisi, hiyo ni uchungu kwa mwenye kitu.
The residents say this will send a strong warning to others who intend to engage in the vice. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Aching Ouma.
And now on to matters education. The Ministry of Education has been urged to ensure a fair and transparent placement of students into Form 1. A group of parents in Wambiru County say the government must ensure that the process is based on merit to empower students to achieve their academic aspirations. The calls coming even as the government maintains that there shall be 100% transition into secondary school. A section of parents want the government to ensure each student is admitted to the school of his or her choice based on the marks scored in the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examinations. Former Wambiru County Women Representative Anna Nyokafi says the selection exercise must be transparent, devoid of favoritism or malice.
Ni muhimu hata kwa masomo kwa watoto tuwatendee haki, tuwapatie ile sports ambaye wanafaa kupewa.
The calls coming days after the Ministry of Education released the 2020 KCPE results, in which several candidates posted exemplary performance despite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. The government has maintained that every student who sat KCPE will get a slot in form. Meanwhile, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers Secretary General Akelo Misori has urged the government to decentralize examination marking centers so as to ease unnecessary movement of teachers.
When centers are decentralized, it gives opportunity for people to have freedom of movement, and even transport is not a hitch.
Misori argued that devolving marking centers would cushion teachers from contracting the deadly COVID-19.
I would have asked the minister to decentralize marking so that at least the health of the teachers is catered for. The challenge of health, the challenge of funds are crucial for the reopening of schools.
Meanwhile, a rescue center in Samburu is in celebration after 7 girls who were on the verge of early marriage
posted an exemplary performance in the 2020 KCPE examinations. The girls, who scored between 257 and 376 marks, vowed to pursue their dreams to fullest to prove society wrong.
The reason I joined STF is because Claire rescued me from child marriage. I went through it, but it was when I was almost to go to FGM and marriage, Mom Claire came to my rescue, and I was able to overcome it.
I was about to be circumcised, and Mom Claire came to my rescue. It was very hard, but when I came to school, it became easy because I developed my brain.
Wazazi wangu waliweza hawakuwa wanataka mimi niingie shule, walikuwa wanataka kunioza nipate mzee, lakini Mama Claire alikuja akanisaidia nipige shule.
The 7 were part of a group of 11 who were rescued from early marriage and female genital mutilation and expressed their joy, promising to pursue their life dreams.
We've had new cases and so many people reaching out for rescues to FGM and early marriages because of the break. It was long, and then we've had our girls who got pregnant, but we still support them. They're still under our care, but they're at home, but we still provide for them.
Finally, private schools in Gocha sub-county continue to post commendable grades in KCPE despite challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Tumefurahishwa kwa sababu watoto wetu karibu wote watapata nafasi nzuri katika shule nzuri katika sehemu mbalimbali za taifa letu tukufu la Kenya.
Wanafunzi wa kwetu hapa, alama zao waliopata alama zaidi ya 400 ni wanafunzi 5, lakini hata hivyo matokeo yalikuwa mazuri zaidi kuliko mwaka uliopita, na hata hivyo wanafunzi wetu ni wenye heshima na taadhima ambao wanafuata nasaha, na hasa mimi nawapa kongole.
Well, on that note, we take a short break. But before we take that break, let's take a look at comments coming in on our Facebook page. Kate and Katha, you say you are tuned from Eldoret. Ward Nyamaseno, you say you're tuned from Kisagam and Kisumu. And you say the show is impressive. Well, thank you so much. Gachuru Watwo, you say you are watching from Chungamali. Gachuru Foster Wanje, you are watching from Mutwapa. Well, those are some of the comments coming in on our Facebook page. Let's take that break. We'll be right back in a jiff.
Je, umeomoka? Kama hujaomoka kwenye Quickbit ndio mambo yote. Hapa tuko na fridge, kodi yake ni CM. Tuko na gas cooker, kodi yake ni CK. Tuko na TV, kodi yake ni TV. Tuko na simu aina ya Samsung ni SM, ama Oppo ni Oppo. My friend, mahali popote unanitazama, eka hizo kodi zake kisha utume kwa 4032353. 4032353. Alafu utakuwa unaomoka na hizi bidhaa. Kumbuka kwenye Quickbit ni bila bora zaidi kwa bei ya chini kwa chini. Fine, baby. What you gotta do? That time of the week again where we grace your screens to bring you nothing but pure entertainment. Joining us on the show today is the one and the only Treasure, all the way from South Africa. My name is and I am a photographer based out of Nairobi, Kenya. It's all about celebrating the beauty and the boldness of who we are and how we live.
Welcome back. Now, still on matters of education, the government has been challenged to support private schools providing education to less fortunate children in the society. Deputy Director of Living Stream School in Kisumu County, Emmy Awino, says the COVID-19 pandemic has had adverse effects on private schools and they should also benefit from any stimulus programs being spearheaded by the government.
4 days after the release of the 2020 KCPE results, little-known Living Stream School in Kisumu County is still in the celebration mood. Prince Ekabi Amare emerged top with 389 marks among the 17 candidates that sat for the national examinations at this center.
When I came to this school, I knew I will get the best, and at least I've gotten the best.
I'm very happy of the performance of the children in this particular school in the 2020. They have actually shown us that they were taught well. They actually shown us that believing on Jesus Christ, this being a Christ-centered move, they have really done it.
However, it is not all that rosy at this school, as it has had to endure the ravaging effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The school's Deputy Director, Amy Awino, says the pandemic has posed a significant challenge to the school's financial muscle and that learning may not carry on as intended.
COVID-19 has affected most of our families, most of the parents that are coming here, and so it is not easy for them to continue this way. But every parent needs noble education, needs quality education for their children.
Living Streams is a church school under the Deliverance Ministry and mainly cares for the underprivileged in society. Amy challenges the government to support private schools like Living Streams that are seeking to provide education to the down in society.
We also want to appreciate His Excellency the President for allowing private schools to move on. In as much as we have challenges, but we are grateful that we are able to work alongside public schools, and we also request that he also supports private schools just like he's supporting government schools. There is no private child, there is no government child, there is no public child.
Reporting for Channel 1 News from Kisumu County, I'm Wycliffe Okage.
The ban on religious gatherings during the COVID-19 pandemic has had its fair share of effects on the spread of the gospel in the country. While some churches have found ways to maneuver through the pandemic, some have had to close their doors and only hope that it shall all come to pass. Now, the challenges notwithstanding, the Glory Outreach Assembly has commemorated its 30th anniversary, celebrating its milestone not just in the religious circles, but also in the education sector. Caroline Kamau with the details.
COVID-19 has significantly disrupted life as the world knows it. In Kenya, a spike in COVID-19 cases has seen the government reintroduce containment measures to curb the surge.
Lord, we bless you.
A move that has greatly affected the operations of the church. However, the Glory Outreach Assembly has not allowed this to dampen its celebrations to mark the church's 30 years of existence.
We have gathered to look back and see the 4 areas that God has put in our hearts. The 4 areas that we impact communities include the church growth. We've taken the gospel to the unleashed people groups in Rodwa, Marsabit, Garsen, and other places. And when we take the gospel, we build the bridges for gospel to be acceptable. We sink the boreholes to the people who have no water in those areas. We provide education to the people in the enriched areas.
Bishop David Dhagana and his wife, Reverend Joyce Munyire, says the GOA ministry has made major milestones since 1991, saying the ministry has not just grown its tentacles in the ministry, but also built schools in areas of Turkana, Lodwar, Marsabit, and Garsen.
The school is thriving. GOA Magi School in Akatman village in Lodwar has done KCPE for the 4th time, and they're always leading in that area. Recently, we have started GOA in Aborpus in Turkana, which is up to the 4th grade. And it's a great joy to see these children in Turkana communities who had no opportunity of getting education, now having education. Our best child in KCPE this year has 396 marks.
Bishop Dhagana attributes the growth of the church to good leadership and integrity, saying the church remains committed to working with communities to promote a dignified life for all. Caroline Kamau reporting for Channel 1 News Hour.
Away from that, parents in Mandera County have been urged to be more proactive in the children's upbringing to help tackle drug abuse in the region. Mandera County Chief Executive Officer for Gender and Youth, Izudina Dar, says neglect of responsibilities by parents has been identified as one of the major impediments to the war against drug abuse in the region. Details of these and other highlights in the county news briefs.
The Chief Executive Officers urged parents to take responsibility of their children and work closely with the county government in stemming drug abuse in the region. Adela called on security agencies to be on the lookout always as drug dealers are working round the clock to smuggle drugs using dubious means.
There are other bigger fishes where those who sell, those who plant these drugs, those who transport it, is kind of, interconnected criminality that's going on. So in order to fight this drug, I think we need to look at where this is coming from, and we need to look at the root cause and we demolish it. To do that, also we need to work with other arms of government, with the national government, the security agencies, to also take this action.
Elsewhere, residents of Gashie, Kiambaa constituency, Kiambu County, have taken it upon themselves to repair the road linking Nairobi and Kiambu County, saying that no one seems to bother about the poor state of the road. They lamented that the road has become impassable, especially during the rainy seasons.
Nenda kwa barabara zingine zinakuanga nzuri sana, lakini barabara yetu ya Gashie miaka nenda miaka rudi, hii barabara inakuanga hivi. Kwa hivyo tunafurahi sana ya kuwa sasa nitakuwa nakipita na kagari kangu hapa vizuri, hakazami kwa maji.
In Baringo, the county government and Kabrak University have partnered to improve the quality of health services in the county. The agreement will see the digitization of various health services and training of service providers. Baringo Governor Stanley Kiptei says it was high time the county embraced technology in the provision of health services. Kabrak University Vice Chancellor Professor Henry Kiplagat said the 3-year project will encompass areas such as research, maternal health, among other areas.
We have also partnership with Nairobi University and USAID on health information systems that we are going to put in place because we want to embrace technology. So we are digitizing our health facilities so as to allow us monitor our services in prevention of drugs and as well as the human resource.
We also need to go beyond what we signed today under the MOU, because there could be other teething problems that the county government of Baringo may identify in the area of health. Listening to His Excellency the Governor earlier on, I mentioned that there are shortages even when it comes to nutritionists and dietitians.
And over 4,000 tree seedlings have been planted at Kalru, a non-ruminant center, as part of a move to support Kenya's initiative to attain the 10% forest cover by 2022.
And you realize that the dependence on firewood has continuously dragged this behind because people keep on cutting trees and they're not replanting them. So I would appeal to the people living close to forests, as much as probably there is the diminishing land for agriculture, they should also be considerate to the trees.
The seedlings planted were from Non-Ruminant Research Institute under the government's greening initiative.
And now across borders, the American Space Agency NASA has successfully flown a small helicopter on Mars, celebrating what represents the first powered controlled flight by an aircraft on another world. The rotorcraft was carried to Mars in the belly of NASA's Perseverance rover, which touched down in Jezero crater on the Red Planet in February. The space agency is promising more adventurous flights in the days ahead.
NASA successfully flies small helicopters on Mars. The drone completes the first powered controlled flight by an aircraft on another world. Confirmation via a satellite at Mars relayed the chopper's data back to Earth. Elsewhere, wildfire on the slopes of South Africa's Table Mountain has spread to the nearby University of Cape Town campus, forcing students out. destroying properties of unknown worth. Meanwhile, India's capital Delhi has announced a week-long lockdown after a record spike in cases overwhelmed the city healthcare system. Government offices and essential services will be open during the lockdown, which starts on Monday. The city reported 24,462 cases, its highest single-day spike so far on Sunday. India has been reeling from a deadly second wave since the start of April. Finally, an 8-year-old girl who was kidnapped in eastern France on Tuesday has been found with her mother in Switzerland. The girl was in good health after being discovered in squat of an old factory in the border village of St. Croix. Prosecutors said her mother, Lola Montemaggi, was taken into Swiss police custody. Officials say she ordered the abduction of the girl, of whom she no longer had custody, from her grandmother's home.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii ya Isaiah 48 kwa simu yako bonyeza *811 *817 hash.
Wakati mwingine unaweza kujipata umefinywa pande zote na unaona kama shida yako ni kubwa sana, kama hakuna nguvu ambazo zaweza kuitatua. Lakini ni vyema kujua kwamba kuna Mungu mwenye nguvu na ambaye hachoki kamwe. Isaia mlango wa 40 mstari wa 8 inasema, je, wewe hukujua? Hukusikia? Yeye Mungu wa milele, Bwana muumba maisha ya dunia, hazimii wala hachoki, akili zake hazichunguziki.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii bonyeza *811 *817 hash, *811 *817 hash. On the next episode of Ashoka.
His will is still alive, Nikita. My son Ashok is still alive.
If we had to capture Ashok alive, then we had to keep Bindusar alive as well.
I'll completely break your spirit.
How can this stop me from entering my own home and protecting my people? No matter how much you think, we cannot get inside.
What is going on? Who are they?
Whoever has closed the door will not be spared from our curse. Just get that one thing clear in your head.
Can you believe we get to come out here every day?
So what do we do now?
We take it day by day. I have to believe that something good is gonna come out of this.
And now to the world of business. The High Court has temporarily halted the implementation of the minimum tax pending the hearing and determination of the case, dealing a major blow to the tax collection measures. Justice George Odunga today issued conservatory orders blocking Kenya Revenue Authority from collecting the tax. The minimum tax has caused a major uproar from businesses and also take effect midnight.
In his ruling, Justice Odunga stated that it is my view and I find that this is an appropriate case for the second respondent, that is KRA, to hold its horses for the time being as this court navigates through the labyrinth of the respective contentions made by the parties herein. The judge issued conservatory orders stopping Kenya Revenue Authority from collecting the tax pending the hearing and determination of the case filed by Kitengela Bar Owners Association. The tax was introduced under the Finance Act 2020 to be charged at the rate of 1% of the gross turnover of a business. This has provided temporary reprieve to business owners as the first payment was to be made on Tuesday. Tax lawyer Robert Gadhogo says the minimum tax in its current form will discourage investments and may lead to closure of many businesses.
The minimum tax may strain businesses. One, startups may get strained because in themselves there's no incentive of incurring expenses so that you can generate. Remember also the people you're incurring expenses to are also recording that as their income. So that in itself discourages businesses that have started, and it discourages foreign investors who want to pump in a lot of cash in countries where they have good incentives, tax incentives.
The move will also have a negative implication on revenue collection, as the tax collector was banking on the tax to rope in more players into the tax bracket. KRA hopes to use the new tax to expand its collection, which has been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The case is expected to be heard on the 19th of May this year, where the two parties are expected to argue their case before Justice Odunga.
The Kenya Power will not introduce a blanket moratorium for consumers defaulting as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. The power utility firm said the move was informed by an increase in power consumption despite a rise in system losses by 24.51%.
In the year ended June 30th, 2020, the power utility reported that the average yield on units sold in the review period was 16 shillings and 30 cents per kilowatt hour, translating to systems losses of 43.83 billion shillings. The company says the losses have been segmented and is addressing them systematically.
We have targeted inspection of meters for ordinary customers. We target particular places where we think theft could be going on.
We have zero tolerance on anyone who is stealing from us, be it a staff, be it a contractor, be it an illegal person out there. All of them, we actually take them to book, and where instances allow us to prosecute when we have enough evidence that can be sustained in court, we exactly do that.
On defaulting clients, the company reported an increase in payment defaults of 16% from 23.6 billion shillings to 27.4 billion shillings, mostly related to COVID-19. Despite this, the company says it will engage mechanisms to plug losses.
Right now, the economy has improved. Even with this lockdown, we can't say that consumption is so low. In fact, consumption has increased when you compare to the previous period of around April 2020. Right now, we are at a higher point. I think we are even at the highest ever. So the economy has improved, and our customers are able to actually pay their bills.
The company says it has stepped up efforts in stemming further losses occasioned by commercial system losses.
The advanced metering project, initially we are doing it for the SME sector and installing 55,000 meters, plus the infrastructure that will enable us be able to do analytics that will give us reports on how the account is performing. When there are there's any interference with the meter is supposed to alert us.
We engage the ADR process. We have we mediate. We tell the customers to come. We agree on the issues that they are aggrieved about. So we're able to sort out.
Currently, Kenya Power System losses stand at 24.51% against the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority EPRA provision of 19%.
I&M Holdings has been ranked as the most attractive bank in Kenya, followed by Equity Group and Absa Bank. According to the banking report released by Citon Investments, I&M Bank was supported by a strong franchise value and intrinsic value score. Here are more details on that report.
The report deemed subdued growth in earnings amidst deteriorating asset quality, looked at financial results of the listed banks for the year 2020. Asset quality for listed banks for the year 2020 deteriorated, with the gross NPL ratio rising to 13.5% from 10.5% in the financial year 2019. This was due to the economic slowdown as a result of the pandemic, which led to an uptick in the non-performing loans. Anne Washera, investment analyst at Citon Investments, says the proactive stance taken by the banks in monitoring their loan books, coupled with the measures implemented by the central bank, will continue to support the sector's growth, adding that in the medium to long term, banks will continue over-provisioning, although at a slower rate. I&M Holdings took the top position in the weighted score of both franchise and future growth opportunity perspective, having a better capacity to generate profits from its core business. The franchise score measures the broad and comprehensive business strength of a bank across 13 different metrics, while the interest score measures the investment return potential. Equity Group recorded an improvement in the franchise value ranking, coming in second mainly on the back of a 52.2% increase in the group's non-funded income, coupled with an improvement in the bank's NPL coverage, which recorded a 10.4 percentage point increase to 62.4% from 52% recorded in Q3 2020. Absa Rank improved to position 4 from position 7 in Q3 2020, attributable to the bank having the lowest NPL ratio among listed banks at 7.7%.
Now in the sports arena, Safari legend Carl Flash Tundo is set to make his R5 debut at the FIA ARC Equity Rally slated for the Great Rift Valley on Saturday and Sunday. Tundo, who has been running a Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 10R4, will now be upgraded to one of 7 R5 supercars enlisted for the event.
The VW Polo R5 car was to be driven by Oman-based British driver Pratul Goose, who has instead opted out due to logistical challenges. Tundo's new drive is something related to the monsters his teammates Javier and Onkar Rai are currently running on Kenyan soil. Tundo has won the Safari 5 times in the ARC days, while Ian Duncan emerged the winner in the WRC Kenyan edition of the event in 1994, navigated by Dave Williamson from Mombasa. Equity Extravaganza will use 6 stages from the grueling WRC Safari route. The 6 are Elementaita, Soisambo, Sleeping Warrior, Loldia, Malewa and Kedong. WRC Safari stages omitted from Equator's 2-day schedule are Kasarani Super Special Stage, Oserian and Hell's Gate Wolf Power Stage.
It's left-hand drive, it's a new machine. I have no idea how it handles, how it runs. I've seen it perform, and I just hope that it'll be a good...
Players and the management of Migori Youth Football Club have received the COVID-19 jab ahead of the resumption of sporting activities in the country. The exercise comes a few days after all football clubs in Nairobi received the jab.
The vaccination of all sportsmen and women is nearing an end, with players and the management of Migori Youth Football Club turning out in numbers to receive COVID-19 jab ahead of the resumption of sporting activities in the county. The government set aside 3,500 vaccines to ensure all sportsmen and women will take part in the Tokyo Olympics, WRC Safari Rally, the Kenya Premier League, among other sports, are vaccinated to ensure the safe resumption of sporting activities in the country. All sportsmen and women are waiting for further directions from the Minister of Sports to know the way forward.
Baada ya kupata communication kutoka kwa federation tuchukue vaccine kwa sababu wako na negotiation na government ili sport irudi. Wamesema lazima tuchukue chanjo, na players, officials na technical bench wa Migori Youth wote tumekuja hapa leo, and the first batch wamechukua chanjo ya corona leo.
Umuhimu wa hii chanjo ni kuwa inatusaidia kwa hiyo kinga ya corona, ingawa hata kama kwa timu yetu watu tunasafiri sehemu tofauti, so ingawa hata kama tuko na mwenye nayo already tumeshakuwa vaccinated kwa hiyo chanjo, sasa tuwezi ambukizwa na hiyo ugonjwa wa corona kwa rahisi sana.
The family of Sofa Parker midfielder Wisdom Nair are now calling on friends and all well-wishers in the country to extend their support towards raising funds to cater for their son who is ailing from a tumor on his leg. The parents' father explained that their son has to go for treatments after every 3 weeks, which costs more than 55,000 shillings, and that they cannot afford to raise the money as they are casual workers.
Hiyo gharama ya matibabu kama sisi familia, ukweli ni kwamba hatuwezi, maana mimi kazi yangu ni mwanajua kali hapa mjini Kitale na mapato yangu pia ni kidogo. Kwa hivyo kuraise shilingi 55,000 baada ya wiki 3 ni changamoto kubwa sana kwangu.
Na tangu wakati huo tumekuwa tukifanya different tests kutoka Disemba, tumefanya tests tofauti ambayo ni gharama. Tukiwapigia pia wana respond, wanatusaidia. But sasa wakati tulifika daktari akatuambia sasa aanze chemotherapy kwa sababu hiyo kidonda tutake tukimbilie surgery ili deform hiyo mguu. Achaanze chemo kwanza ipunguze huo uvimbe. Na wanasema it's a type of a sarcoma, a tumor that when you ask them nini na cause, wanakuambia hata hawa bado hajajua ni nini na cause sarcomas kwa sababu ziko different classes.
Supapaka wamekuwa wakishughulika kwa hizo test nimekuwa nikifanya kama MRI, biopsy, wamekuwa wanashughulika, lakini sasa ni vile deal ilikuwa mob ndio tukaamua kusika. Well wishes pia kama wanaweza come through. Yeah.
Jose Mourinho has been sacked by Tottenham after just 17 months of being in charge. The Portuguese replaced Mauricio Pochettino as Spurs manager in November 2019 and guided the club to 6th in the Premier League last season. They are currently 7th, having picked up 2 points from the past 3 league games, and were knocked out of the Europa League in March. Spurs face Manchester City in the Carabao Cup final on Sunday.
I don't know the whole of the story. I know that he wants you to come back. He wants you to come back. You don't know. But if you are a kid, if you are a spoiled guy, it's very bad. If you take it in the right way, you become stronger. Probably this would be something that wouldn't happen 1 month ago, 2 months ago, 1 year ago, 2 years ago. It happened because now you demand more from each other. You feel more the responsibility where you have to give more.
Leicester City boss Brendan Rodgers says his side have the chance to create history after reaching the first FA Cup final since 1969 at the expense of Southampton at Wembley Stadium. Kelechi Iheanacho's second half goal proved decisive for the Foxes, whose last major final of any description came in 2000 when they lifted the League Cup. Meanwhile, in the English Premier League, Manchester United continued their fight for the league title with a comfortable 3-1 win over Burnley.
Nigerian international Kelechi Iheanacho fired Leicester City into the first FA Cup final since 1969 after beating Southampton 1-0 in front of 4,000 fans at the Wembley Stadium last night. The Foxes created the better chances in the first half through Jamie Vardy. However, the striker failed to take his opportunities as the half finished goalless. Southampton also failed to register a single shot on target in the first half, but Kelechi Iheanacho broke the deadlock in the early minutes of the second half, putting the Foxes in control of the game and also secured a final spot. The Foxes will now be looking forward to win its first ever FA Cup in the final set to be played on May 15th against Chelsea.
Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United and Tottenham are among 12 clubs who have agreed to join a new European Super League. The Premier League clubs will join AC Milan, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, Inter Milan, Juventus and Real Madrid. However, The UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, UEFA and Premier League condemned the move when the news broke on Sunday. Critics say the move is being driven purely by money and would destroy domestic leagues and is against the integrity of the sport. UEFA, Europe's governing body, has warned that players involved will be banned from all other competitions at domestic, European or world level and could be prevented from representing the national teams at the World Cup. Well, that brings us to the end of our bulletin tonight. Thank you for keeping it Channel 1 News Hour. Well, up next is Yusufara with the weather updates. My name is Jacky. Wambiru Sign Language interpreter is Anne Wangeshi. Have a good night.
Welcome to Channel 1 Weather Update. My name is Yusufara. Now tonight, Kericho is the coldest with temperatures dropping to 12 degrees Celsius. Rainfall is expected in several parts. Tomorrow morning, areas of Meru and Nyeri wake up to light rains, partly cloudy conditions accompanied by sunny intervals. Areas of Machakos, Makindu, Kitui and Voi, cloudy conditions with sunny intervals. In the coastal region, sunny intervals with the exception of Lamu, where there are chances of rains accompanied by sunny intervals. Chances of rain accompanied by sunny intervals in the northeastern region as well. In the afternoon, showers accompanied by thunderstorms in areas of Kisumu, Kitale, Kericho, Eldoret and its environs. Remember to keep warm in those areas. Areas of the capital city, rains accompanied by sunny intervals. Sunny intervals in the coastal region in the afternoon, rains accompanied by sunny intervals in the northeastern region. Areas of Lodwar, partly cloudy conditions, sunny intervals as well, all the way to the Lake Turkana Basin and areas bordering Kenya and South Sudan. Let's now see how the temperatures are looking like tomorrow. Highs of 33, lows of 25 expected in areas of Mandera. Highs of 35, lows of 25 in Garissa and the capital city Nairobi. Highs of 24 and lows of 16. That brings us to the end of your local weather focus. The international weather focus is coming up in a bit. Again, many thanks for keeping it Channel 1. Make a date with me tomorrow, same time, same place. Until then, do have yourselves a lovely night.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College, with branches in Nairobi, Eldoret, Thika and Meru. Did you know that we are a TVET